You recount very interestingly the story of Twitter's growth. I want to focus on a few episodes and hit some of these other themes. I'm recommending that the detailed narrative is available in your book.
Yes.
But some of the more interesting stories is that along the way you actually were courted by a number of people to either invest or to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
These acquisitions obviously didn't happen, but Al Gore was one of them.
Yeah.
Yahoo was another. The story about Facebook is probably the most interesting of them.
It's probably the funniest, but they were all kind of funny because Yahoo was like, the guy was like, hey, I can buy anything I want as long as it's under $10 million. And we were like, $10 million? Eh. And so I remember Evans, as we got back to our office after visiting Yahoo, he said, well, that's the day we didn't sell Twitter for $10 million. We went in. And then the Al Gore thing was funny because he got us wicked drunk, like 3 bottles of wine for 3 people. And then afterwards he came out with tequila and he poured like a juice glass full of it and he was like, they tell me this is the good stuff. And I just moved away like he's gonna poison us. But the Zuckerberg thing was the funniest because I got to work and I took Bart to work. So I walked half an hour from my house to Bart, and then I did a half an hour in Bart, and then I walked another half an hour to work. So by the time I got to work, I was schwitzing like crazy. And that particular day, the laundry was down to just this white button-up shirt. I never wear white button-up shirts.
Like this shirt.
Like that, like a regular man's shirt.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
And I put it on, and I was like, Olivia, do I look good in this thing? I feel weird. I never wear this. And she was like, you look good. You look handsome. And I was like, really? It feels weird. I feel weird in this shirt. And she was like, just go. You're late. And I was like, all right, I'll wear this weird shirt. So I left, and then I got to work, and Jason Goldman, who was another early employee, said, go downstairs. Ev's waiting in his car for you. And I said, for where? Where are we going? And she was like, just go downstairs. So I went downstairs, and Ev was in his car, and I got in the car, and I was like, where are we going? And he said, we're going down to Palo Alto. And I said, oh, shoot, is today the day we're supposed to do that Google thing with Jiggy? And then, or is it the other thing? Or wait, and he was like, will you stop talking, please? Because I always did that. And I said, oh, okay, well, why are we going down? And he said, we're going to go talk to Mark Zuckerberg. And I said, why are we going to talk to Mark Zuckerberg? And he was like, they want to, Facebook wants to maybe acquire us. And I was like, oh, well, we never talked about this before. Do we want to be acquired? And he was like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, well, why are we going down there then? He was like, I don't know. I thought it was a good idea when we made the appointment. And then we were quiet for a little while, and I was like, ooh, I have a really good idea. And he said, what? I said, if we don't want to be acquired, here's what we can do. And I started giggling a little bit before I could even say it. And I was like, this is going to be funny. I said, Ev, you know what we should do? We should come up with the biggest number in the world, some ridiculous number that no one would ever pay if it comes to that. So, and he's like, what? What number? And I was like, how about $500 million? And it literally was the biggest number I could think of. I couldn't think of anything. And then we were laughing so hard. It was one of those laughs where you can't breathe and you're tearing. You're like, 500. We can't even get our shit together. We're maybe worth 4. And so we went down there, and then we were greeted, and they said, you got to wear these badges, and we put our names on our shirts and my weird white shirt. And then we were ushered in to see Mark, and Mark was like, hello. And he said, you didn't wear name tags? And we said, yeah, we did. The lady said we did have to wear name tags. And he was like, okay. So he was like, let me show you around. So this was when Facebook was all over Palo Alto, different buildings. He's like, you want me to show you around a little? And we were like, okay. And he was like, this is a room full of engineers. And we were like, oh, yeah. And then he was like, do you want to see some more? And we were like, okay. And we did that like 3 times, and Evan and I were like, what? And we were kind of like giggling because he was in front. We were kind of like, this is weird, right? And then he said, let's go to another building. We had to walk around downtown Palo Alto with my weird white shirt and my name tag and stuff. Like, this is weird. So then finally we stopped looking at a room full of engineers, and he took us to this little tiny side room. It wasn't even a real office. It was like a alcove office with a door, and it had a love seat and a chair. And Mark went in first, and he sat in the chair. which left the love seat for me and Ev. And so then I went in next and sat in the love seat, and it was like this little tiny. Luckily, Ev's skinny, and then Ev said, do you want me to close the door, or should I close the door or leave the door open? And Mark just said, yes. and then Ev said, I'll just close it this much. And he left it a little bit ajar, which was awkward because there was people right out there too.
Yeah.
So then he squished next to me, and I put my arm like I was making a move. And he's like, oh, this is gonna joke around now. And I started joking around, but that wasn't. The room was not a good crowd. So finally, I shut up, and Mark said, I don't like to. I'm not a fan of talking numbers. And Ev was like, well, neither are we. We don't do that sort of thing. And Mark said, but if you give me a number, I can tell you right now, yes or no. And Ev looked at me and he said, $500 million? And Mark said, that's a big number. And I said, you said you'd say yes or no. And then he said, well, let's go to lunch. And then we were walking around Palo Alto again, and we were in line for lunch in this huge long line. And Ev tried to make a joke like, hey, aren't you the boss? Can't we cut the line? And he was like, we don't do that here. And then he turned his back on us again, and we were like, we're gonna wait for 45 minutes like awkwardly like this? And so I was like, oh, Ev, we got that thing in the city. And I was like, the thing, oh my God, I forgot about the thing. And then so we left and we went to a coffee shop and we were like, that was so weird and stuff, what are we gonna do? And then later that afternoon, Mark actually said, okay, sure, 500 million. And we're like, oh no.